Welcome to the second episode of Edges and Sledges, where three ordinary cricket fans talk weekly about the happenings in the world of cricket. My name is DJ Chuck. I'm a blogger based in London, and my co bloggers, Varun Garg and Ashwin Garg, are based in Singapore and Toronto, respectively. Um, it's our second episode this week, and we like to kind of cover three topics. The first one was the Nidahas series update. The second one was the BCCI award of contracts, and the third one is what happened in the recently concluded first test between South Africa and Australia. Um, Without much further ado, I'll hand over to my co-blogger Ashwin to just give us a update on what's been happening in the Nidahas series. Three matches have been played, and the uh, each team has won one game. And Ashwin will tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, thanks, DJ. So good morning from Toronto. Like he said, it's Sunday, so we're halfway through the tournament. Six games, six group games, and then a final is the structure. We're done three of the group games, and counter to what anybody expected, we are tied at one game apiece. So the simple summary of what happened is Sri Lanka beat India, India beat Bangladesh, and then Bangladesh had a massive run chase to defeat Sri Lanka. So all three teams are tied at one apiece. I'm just going to pop up a graphic that shows the points table, and then we'll just do a quick rundown of some of the highlights, and then we'll get some thoughts from you guys on what you thought what were great or not. So the first match was Sri Lanka, India versus Sri Lanka. Last week in our first ever episode, we all came in with the mindset that this is going to be a bit of a crappy series. India's playing half a second string side. We're using this to try out players. It was not worthwhile after India's tour to South Africa. And the reality is, Sri Lanka came in there and crushed India. Dhawan was able to rack up 90 runs in just 49 balls, but really the rest of the batting collapsed. And then unexpectedly, Kusal Pereira, who's been stellar in both their games so far, he came in, scored 66 of 37 runs, really took all the Indian bowlers to the cleaner, really made Rohit feel the lack of Bhuvi and Bumrah, who've become mainstays in for the Indian quick bowling lineup. And then day one of the tournament on this past Tuesday, Sri Lanka had their one win. They're playing at home. It was fantastic for the crowd. Everybody was excited, but it also meant there's some life in the next few matches where India needed to come out and shine. The second match was India versus Bangladesh. You know, I think the line I read there was there's more life in a dumpster fire than in this match because it was one of those exceptionally boring matches. Those are not my words. I'm just quoting somebody from Twitter, but exceptionally boring match. Bangladesh batted first, racked up 139 for 8 in 20 overs. I mean, 7 runs and over in a T20 match is just not enough anymore. So 139 for 8, India chased that down again. Dhawan came to the party. What was good in that one was 3 wickets for a nut cut and 2 wickets for Vijay Shankar, who we'll talk about a little bit more. I'm excited about this young talent. He's a sort of Hardik Pandya 2.0. Even though he's 27, but good backup option as a fast bowling all rounder. And then finally, in the third match, which was probably the most exciting one, even though India didn't feature in it, Sri Lanka batted first. Again, great knock by Kusal Pereira, racked up 214, I think it was, 210 plus runs. Bangladesh started the chase strong and just never let it slip. I mean, openers batted well, and then Mushfiqur came in, finished it with a phenomenal 72 not out in 35 balls, and Bangladesh was celebrating their first win after a series of losses. So where we are now, each team plays each other team again once next week. And essentially, whoever wins two of their matches is going to go through, and then the last one is going to become a knockout. So, from my perspective, went into this tri series not really excited about it. We thought, okay, maybe it's a little bit of IPL prep, but now it kind of brings back, hey, this is why tri series are more exciting than bilateral series because a bilateral series can get 3-1 or 4-1 with three matches left, and they're dead rubbers as they call it. Whereas here, we're halfway through, and every other game is exciting and has something on the line. So I'll pass it on to Varun if you have any comments or thoughts.
No, I think good summary. I think it's interesting. Any other three teams that would have been playing, we would have probably been a little more excited. It's just a bit unfortunate. I think the sad thing for us, at least in Singapore, and I know a lot of people in India, is it's not being telecast that easily. So a lot of us in Singapore are having a tough time finding where to watch the
How are
match.
you watching it, Varun?
Just Crick Info, following it on the comments and things like that. But to be honest, To be honest, it's late here, so I think in anticipation of IPL, I'm kind of warming up, getting enough rest. So the series is not as big for me. But yeah, I think just one comment from my side. I think I was personally very excited to see Rishabh Pant play, and I was a bit disappointed because I've seen him play for Delhi previously. I've been following him a bit in the Ranji tournament, and to me, both kind of him and Raina in the team was a good sign. However, both of them were so nervous, and I think nervous is the right word to use. In fact, Pant may have even played a match losing knock in the beginning. So I think that was interesting. I think it's early days, so to all the followers, please don't jump to any conclusions. I think Pant is a talent. I think he is the future of limited overs cricket for India. But yeah, look, Dhoni didn't have the best of starts to his international career. Neither did Kohli. So give him some time. But I think what I want to see is him being a little more calm at the crease, and the same goes for Raina. These guys are talent. They will have a place in the team, but it's just about calming the nerves.
Because
DJ, I don't have anything to add.
yeah, Rishabh Pant, I was going to say, holds the record for the fastest T20 100 in India, right? 31 balls, which is, I mean, it's amazing. And he's he's played a couple of games. I think I want to say in the West Indies. He played a couple of one-day games in the West Indies. He didn't do too well there either. I know we've talked a lot about him. We've talked him up quite a lot. DK is the other wicketkeeper in the team, but maybe he's, I don't know, maybe Pant is feeling the pressure of expectations. He's being touted as the next in line to the wicket-keeping role for India. Dhoni's kind of successor or heir in some ways, big hitting batsman. But what I found interesting was I think Pant batted at number 5 in the first game, right?
Yep.
And then they pushed him up the order in the second game, and I think that's his place. I mean, yes, he didn't fire in the second game, admittedly, but he's not. I don't think because we watched him against spin, and he didn't look like a batsman who was comfortable starting against spin. I think he's an opening batsman. I watched him, I think, a couple of years ago in the Under 19 World Cup. In the final, I think he got stumped of a fast bowler. But he opened the batting, I think. Um, and he's an opening bat. And yes, our opening combination is very settled. Obviously, when Kohli comes back, he bats at 3. But Pant, I think, needs to be given more chances up the order to allow him the opportunity to just express himself, go out there and play without fear. And I mean, who knows? He may be the next Adam Gilchrist. It's early days yet, but left-handed, big-hitting batsman, um, successor to one of the greatest keepers India has had. I mean, Gilchrist came after Healy, who was a great keeper by himself. So there are a lot of similarities there. And I mean, for Indian cricket fans, one can only hope that he goes on and does and achieves great things for Indian cricket. So hopefully he will fire soon. I hope the selectors should keep faith in him. And I mean, we'll see, right?
I just want to add one point. I think there's also too much pressure on the big hitting. I think for the last 2 months, everyone's just been saying there's no big hitter, there's no big hitter, there's no big hitter.
Yeah.
Suddenly you've got guys like Manish Pandey, Raina, and Pant all coming in, and single-minded focus is can I hit the six? I think it's pressure that has been put on them. I think the reality is there is no slot open, and so the way I see it, every time they're going out to bat, they're very conscious that I need to clear the boundary. And
I was just going to ask you a question. Sorry for interrupting. Who is the big Indian hitter? I mean, we watched the IPL, right? And you see all these big hitting foreigners like Chris Gale, Brendan McCullum. You've got, I don't know, other Shane Watson, Lynn. These guys are all the Glenn Maxwell, yeah. They're all foreign players. Who are the big Indian hitters? Like Raina is one of them, maybe for CSK, which is making a comeback. But Kohli's a number 3 or opening bat. He isn't a big hitter per se. When you think of Kohli, you don't think of him as being a big hitter. But India is lacking, I think, as you say, big hitters, domestic big hitters. Even the IPL hasn't shown up those many. I don't know what you guys think.
I mean, the one that we were all hoping would do well was Yusuf Pathan, but we know how that story is gone. Hardik Pandya, I think, is the one who should have
And
been
he
the
can
big
pitch
hitter.
it in his half, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what he can hit. No, Pandya to me is supposed to play that role, right? Number 7. Let's groom him to play number 7. Let's not need him to come in and hit 90 odd runs in a test match after the top order collapse. Let's really stay focused on having him play that big hitting sort of number 7 role. That's sort of another question I had that I wanted to throw out to you guys is, with Pant sort of being an example of an opening batsman who we sent in at 5, then you can go down the list and keep going. Okay, we've said Rahane and Rahul, both top 3 batsmen. We tried Rahane at 5. It's worked, sometimes it hasn't. Then you look at Shreyas Iyer and Karun Nair and some of these other guys. Like, is the domestic system in India just grooming top 3 batsmen because they've realized, hey, if your top 3 are Dhawan, Rohit, and Kohli, 5, 6, 7, like Jadhav has played so many matches but such few innings, right? Your 5, 6, 7 may not get a chance to bat 4, 5, 6 matches in a row, and suddenly they'll have to come in after a collapse and beat it. And beat the ball around the park. So is the system set up to basically bring in hundreds of top order batsmen and nobody at 5, 6, 7? And should we then be valuing a Manish Pandey and a Hardik Pandya a little better because they can be groomed to be committed 5, 6, 7? Thoughts?
Yeah, let me take that first. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think on an annual basis, the training that is delivered is for the top 3 or 4. I think that the challenge comes in is if you look at India cricket, again, on a bilateral series basis, the top 3 are winning you most games. The problem comes is in multi-nation tournaments. I am a firm believer that to win a multi-nation tournament like a World Cup or an ICC Champions Trophy, it is your number 5, 6, and 7 who are going to win it for you. And I just want to point out the example of the 2011 World Cup. No matter how great Sachin, Sehwag, Gambhir, and Kohli were as the top 4, the guys who were winning the quarterfinal, the semi-final, and the final were Yuvraj Singh, MS Dhoni, and Suresh Raina. So your 5, 6, 7 are very crucial. In a bilateral series, the pressures of your top 3 have more time. I think the ODI game has also evolved a little bit in the last 5, 6 years. But yeah, absolutely. I think the second point is if you don't test your hitters in the IPL, where are you going to test them? And like we said, all of them are foreigners. So it's going to be an interesting debate. Like we said, we've got only 13 months to sort this out. But yeah, DJ, I don't know if you have any thoughts, and then we can lead into the contract renewals.
I was actually thinking wider in terms of world cricket. Who are the good 5, 6, 7 batsmen? I mean, Maxwell is one of them, right? Australia.
Yeah.
Which other teams have got, well, England are doing really well in one-day cricket because they've got Moeen Ali, Ben Stokes.
Yeah.
So maybe that is the key. I mean, maybe that's going to be the key, as you say, in even the World Cup.
For a long tournament, for 1 or 2 games, your top 3 might win you. For a 1.5, 2-month tournament, your 5, 6, 7 are crucial. Australia's got Maxwell. South Africa this time showed it with Miller, Klaassen. England has got the Stokes and Moeen Ali, as you said. So I think that there is a challenge here for India. But yeah, it'll be interesting. We can chat more in detail about that later.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Anything else on this series, guys? Any other thoughts on spinners, bowling? I mean, it's a weird kind of series, isn't it? It's kind of T20 games, tri-series. And I take responsibility for my comment last week. I mean, you guys have been but I was the one who said that it's a warm-up for the IPL. In some ways, it still is, with the big players rested, Bumrah, Bhuvi. But it's a big opportunity for people like Pandey, I think. Pandey, with his 100 in Australia a couple of years ago, I thought was going to be the guy for middle order. But he struggled, I think. Not even as a big hitter, just to rotate the strike. He's been struggling. Pant played, as you said, a match in last. I think there's work to be done. Jadhav, obviously, Varun's got some pretty strong views on his talent. As you said, again, 5, 6, 7 crucial to nail down before the World Cup. I think that kind of wraps up this point, doesn't it, guys?
Yeah, let's pivot to the second topic, which was BCCI contract. So, Varun, do you want to take that one away?
Yeah. So this is exciting for me, right? Because like we were saying, this kind of sets the scene for the next 12 months. It's interesting. I was reading somewhere about the contract renewals, and Ashwin, I'm not sure if you have the slide up.
Yeah.
But apparently, Dhoni and Kohli got together with the selection committee, and they had a huge say in who gets what contract. I think firstly, the standout point for me was anyone who's playing all 3 formats gets the top grade. So your Kohli, Rohit, Dhawan, Bhuvi, and Bumrah, all 3 are playing all 3 formats of the game. Rohit is debatable in tests, but look, these guys are the mainstay of your team. So it's interesting they've got the 7 crore contracts. What I found very interesting is the A grade. So A plus we've covered. The A grade, it's got a good mix, but there are two names there who are standing out, and I think they deserve it. Ashwin and Jadeja. I think they've kind of been sidelined completely. To most people, it's a bit unfair. I think they deserve it. Look, in a test match, whether it's India or abroad, I think these two guys have played a huge role in us being number one. I think DJ mentioned it last time. In England, ODI itself will be interesting to see. Do you play Kuldeep and Chahal, or do you play Ashwin and Jadeja, or do you play a combination of any one of these four? So I was happy to kind of see that. Dhoni, of course, being Dhoni, is in the A grade, so no debate there from my perspective. But interesting to see Saha there, because by seeing his name there, to me, it's kind of indicative that over the next 12 months, we're traveling to England, Australia, and New Zealand. I think there's no doubt that Saha is going to be your test keeper. His batting is a bit of a question mark for me, but it was interesting to see that. And then really, I think B grade are the upcoming guys. I think Rahul, Umesh, Kuldeep, Chahal. Again, no point to kind of debate too much here from my perspective. And C grade is the 1 crore. So like we said, I think Manish, Aksar, interesting to see Karun Nair in it. I don't think he's played for a while, especially since his spectacular triple 100. Raina, Parthiv, and Jayan. So this is it gives you a good kind of flavor of what the team's focus is going to be in the next 12 months. I think by no means is this an exhaustive list. I think there are still spots open for people to come in. But that was my take very quickly on the contract proposals. I don't know, Ashwin, DJ, do you guys have anything to add?
Yeah, I can go first. So a couple of things to add from me. So I thought you summarized it very well. Thank you. Um, a couple of things that were surprises for me. The first, echoing what you said about Saha. Saha being A grade, he only plays one of the formats. Arguably hasn't been a huge contributor. So that was a surprise for me, but you covered that one already. The second one was, we picked two quick bowlers in the B grade that haven't, and that haven't really been high impact players, and that's Umesh and Ishant. And I think that's an interesting dilemma to have. Ishant arguably still played a little bit against South Africa, had a decent run. Umesh hasn't played. I don't remember the last time I saw Umesh playing. Maybe it was the Champions Trophy. He played a couple of games. So, um, you know, keeping that faith and having four full-time quicks in addition to Pandya, because really, if you have Bhuvi and Bumrah and Pandya, that's your three quick bowler spells. So I thought that was the other one that was a little bit of a surprise. And then the last one for me was Manish. I think Manish showing up in this, you if you haven't heard already, you'll see it across the next few episodes of this that I'm a fan of Manish Pandey. I think he's got lots of great potential. I think having him in the C grade with 1 crore sort of sends him a little bit of a message. We talked last time about why Dhoni was shouting and cursing at him, and maybe this is a little bit self-evident that they're not giving him the 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 sort of contract and the rate and the deal that I think he deserves based on his performance. So that's it from me. I think interesting selection. DJ, any closing thoughts on this one?
DJ, any thought on where Shami is? I didn't see him in this kind of list.
Apparently, Shami is in trouble. So he was part of the discussion, but then the news broke right during the week that he's got some legal trouble brewing with his on the domestic front. So watch that space. As you know, I'm not a massive fan of Mohammad Shami. I think he's overrated in some ways. But obviously, he's got kind of personal issues ongoing at the minute. The BCCI has had him on the list, but apparently decided to put that on ice while his legal issues are sorted with his spouse. So I think watch that space. Dhoni not being the other person actually to talk about is Kumble. Anil Kumble was involved in this new contract structure.
Oh, was he?
It was Kumble, Kohli, and Dhoni that got together at the beginning. So the only one who ends up with the A+ contract is Kohli because Kumble is gone, and obviously Dhoni is A. I mean, Dhoni doesn't play all four formats. But what I found interesting, actually, guys, which you didn't mention, was Rohit Sharma being indispensable in all three formats. Is that true?
No, and I think that's the case. I think in tests he doesn't play, but he's always part of the squad. But
he drinks pretty well, doesn't he?
As much as we like him or hate him, honestly, you've heard me say this before. Linking back to our previous topic, who is India's best six-hitter today? Actually, there's only one name, and it is Rohit Sharma.
That's actually true, but you don't need him in test matches, right?
Yeah, no, not for test, and that's what I'm saying. I think
the new category A plus was you're indispensable in all three formats.
Yeah. And that's true, and that's why I'm saying it is surprising he's not in the playing 11 for all the tests. But look, the Indian team or the selection committee clearly sees something in him. Even in South Africa, the first two tests he was chosen ahead of Rahane. So sometimes there are these one-off decisions that probably you can't understand. But yeah, it is a bit of a surprise to me as well.
Just to close the thought on Rohit, I think, if I was a selector, I'd see him almost as that sort of Gale type of wild card, which is sure he doesn't perform as consistently as a Kohli or even a Dhawan, but when he does, he wins the match for you, right? When he does go big in ODIs, he's getting those double centuries. When he does bat well in T20s, he's batting at 200 plus strike rate. So, maybe the decision is, hey, we have a few reliable guys. Dhawan's proving pretty reliable in all three formats. Pujara's great in tests. Kohli's pretty good. Let's have the one wild card because he's the only one of these who can really single-handedly win a match when he comes good. So,
okay, interesting. So that's kind of it. The big news, I think, on the contracts was Dhoni and Shami not making the list. But I mean, the explanation then given, I think, justified it for Dhoni, whereas Shami obviously pending resolution of his issues. Anything else on that, guys? Reina is obviously back in the fold, which is something Varun's pretty pleased about, I would imagine.
I guess he needs a bit of time, but yeah, it's good to see him back in the mix.
Is it a step back, Ashwin? Do you think it's we're taking a step back instead of looking into the future?
I don't personally think we are. I think it comes back to what we talked about 5, 6, 7. I think he's a sort of specialist at what he does. He can finish. So I'm okay with it. I'm excited to see what happens for him this year in the IPL and how he's able to perform because he's been more reliable than the backups we've tried. So I think it's okay.
I'm just teasing Varun. Okay, and I think that's the topic of on kind of BCCI contracts and stuff. The last topic, and this is the one that I'm really interested is in what happened between Warner and de Kock. Just to give our listeners and viewers a little bit of background, the first test match between South Africa and Australia in Durban concluded last week. Australia won by a decent margin, not before they got a scare from a partnership between Markram and de Kock. De Kock ended up did he end up with 91 or I think he ended up with 91 or 90. But what actually made the news and distracted from Australia's win again on South African soil was a confrontation in the dressing room this time. And this time they had CCTV, but no sound. So we couldn't hear what happened. So the way it unfolded basically was apparently there had been a bit of needle on the field after AB de Villiers was run out in brackets again in a crunch situation. And Warner, who affected the run out fielding at short fine leg, celebrated a bit effusively. A few choice words were spoken. Obviously, de Villiers didn't engage; just walked off. He's far too classy for all of that stuff. But it kind of continued, spilled over, and it ended up with a face-off on the stairwell leading up to the dressing rooms, where who was it? Was it Usman Khaja had to hold Warner back?
Tim Payne and
Warner was just letting rip at de Kock. De Kock looked pretty chilled about it all, just walking in. Faf turned up in his lungi, which is not disguised.
lungi.
So Faf turned up in his, and Rabada looked pretty threatening. But it all apparently there was a line that had been crossed. But now that brings us to the question: what is this line? Who draws this line? Who owns the line? Is it the Australians who say we will headbutt the line, but we will not cross it? What is the line? And we've written about this on our blog a number of times, I think. So if you want to read anything about this, go to onetiponehand.com. And our views are fairly clear on this point. Cricket is not a contact sport. It should not encourage over-appealing, aggressive celebrations. I mean, we see our Indian captain doing it all the time, but somehow it didn't spill over into what happened with the Australians, and the Australians are nearly always engaged in this. And Warner is leading from the front, and Ashwin's going to show us some of his previous altercations. There was the speak English altercation with Rohit Sharma, which is just casually racist, to be absolutely clear. There was the Joe Root punch up in a bar, walkabout, which led to him being demoted. He fought with a wicketkeeper. He's an antagonist. He's no longer the saint or whatever they called him. And yeah, he's taken his demerit points. And I mean, it's all a bit depressing. It distracted from the win, and everybody just talked about this. So, guys, what are your thoughts on the whole episode and the saga, the Warner de Kock saga? Varun, do you want to kind of tell us your thoughts on that first?
I think my personal perspective is I'm always going to be biased about this because I've grown up watching Australia push the line, create the line, walk all over the line. So I'm always going to be biased against it. What I do want to say is that I think I really do believe in, especially in Warner's case, is that if you're willing to give it, you have to be willing to take it. And by no means is this to us acceptable on the field or off the field. But really, if you're going to be the guy who's always up in controversy, I think at some point you need to take a look in the mirror and say that why is it me that has got a problem with each and every person? And I mean, we did joke about this in one of our WhatsApp conversations that he seems to take a liking to some of the young, more pretty boys, as we called it, Joe Root, Kock. So I'm not sure what Warner's thinking.
Rohit Sharma was an exception to that.
Which is a definite exception to that. But I just think if you're willing to give it, you got to be willing to take it as well. Australia have always crossed the line. I saw an interview with Faf also recently, and Faf basically was reiterating the point that he doesn't believe that his team plays the kind of cricket that needs to use this sledging or mental games to win a game. So yeah, I think my stance is pretty clear. It's Australia have always crossed the line, and I think they have to be willing to take it. Ashwin, anything to add?
Yeah, no, I echo that completely. I think because they want to give it. I mean, the stories from Glenn McGrath, right? He would just talk shit for 4 hours, non-stop while bowling in a test match, and then one person says one thing back, and he just loses his mind, starts charging at the. So I think it's the same thing. I don't love that this is happening in cricket. I read an article the other day that says somehow this seems to only happen in cricket. It is even within Australia, right? Rugby, Aussie rules football, they're all sort of seen as slightly classier sports where yeah, they're rough around the edges, but there's no like sledging and smack talking the entire time. But I agree with the rule. I think Kohli is an example of somebody. I've said this before. I don't remember what instance, but when somebody was over aggressively celebrating at Kohli's wicket, I said that he has to be okay with it. He just has to be okay with it. He over aggressively celebrates even a number 11 batsman's wicket, and he has to be okay when they do the same. So I think the same thing applies. Warner can't talk smack for 4 hours and then decide as soon as wherever this imaginary line that DJ mentioned is crossed, then he's going to charge at him. I think either way, verbal on verbal is different to getting physical. So I think he has to be able to control that. If he wants to talk smack back against De Kock's, anything else, anything personal, that's fair game. Now De Kock opened himself up to that, but not having the temperament and deciding to charge at him and your teammates have to hold you back, that's just silly and a little bit infantile.
The whole argument was, oh, it got personal because he mentioned my wife or whatever, right? But you had that famous instance where I think it was Rod Marsh that told Ian Botham, how's your wife and my kids? And then Ian Botham said, wife's fine, but the kids are not. So, I mean, they've done it. I mean, Sarwan's had the blow up with McGrath. Even Sachin has sledged McGrath in Nairobi in like 2000, the ICC knockout tournament that we had, mini World Cup or whatever it's called that. So it's the same characters that keep getting involved. What I find amazing now in not just Australian cricket but world cricket is that whenever there's a wicket, there's a send off, and there's this and that. I mean, just celebrate your victory or your wicket by yourself. I mean, you see people score a goal in football, they don't go and scream in the goalie's face, right? Yeah. It's the equivalent of doing that. When the goalie can't do anything, the events happen. and then you're just rubbing it in for. I mean, it's one of the things even footballers don't do, and football is a contact sport. You have, I mean, all sorts going on there, but it's one of the things that doesn't happen. It's just a it's quite a weird dynamic I find that's building in world cricket these days.
And I mean, last point on this, I think the fact that it's a non-contact sport is the reason why this is happening. I think there's too much pent up anger, frustration, and there's really no way to take it. There's no way to take it out. I think the other thing is not just a contact sport. I think it's a game that is so highly dependent on skill. I mean, it's almost like kind of golf in a way where you have to be mentally on for like 8 hours in a day straight. I think anything that can rattle your mental state will affect your game. And I think that's the reason this started. So I think it's the non-contact as well as the highly skills required to play this game that actually have forced the over-aggressive celebrating, the sledging, etc.
Yeah, I think that wraps up three big topics that we wanted to talk about. Anything else, guys, in the offing? The IPL is obviously coming up. So what are we excited about?
I can go first on that one. I think, yeah, just 4 weeks from yesterday, so I have a counting down as to when April 7th is here. Exciting times. The IPL is coming upon us. I think the one thing I'm excited about this year, and it's sort of a broad statement, but is the captains, and there's three in particular I highlighted. One is Gautam Gambhir. We talked briefly about it last week, but returning to Delhi, it's almost that emotional last few it's his emotional farewell, whether it lasts a year, 3 years, 5 years, who knows. But it's, for football fans, it's Wayne Rooney returning to Everton for his last few seasons. Gambhir talked about it before the auction. He said, I'm a Delhi guy. I'd love to. I've captained Delhi in the Ranji Trophy many years of my career. I would love to come and end my career at Delhi, and they made it work. So Gambhir captaining Delhi is exciting for me. And then two new captains we're going to see, two new Indian captains, right? Ravi Ashwin at Kings 11 Punjab and Dinesh Karthik at Calcutta. Both, very decorated players at the domestic level. Um, I'm excited to see what they bring to their new franchises. So I'm excited about the two new captains and Gambhir's return home.
Okay. I'm sorry, guys, I can't pick one. This is this is the greatest 2 months of the year for me for the last 11 years. So, yeah, I'm just too excited. I can't choose one. Yeah, 60 days of non-stop cricket. I mean, yeah, life really can't get better than that.
Okay, on that note, I think my two. I'm excited about the return. Like Ashwin said, Gambhir returning to Delhi. I'm excited to see Rajasthan Royals and CSK return to the fold after 2 years of isolation. So yeah, it's big news for their fans. The old firm is coming back together of Dhoni and Raina. Exciting times, guys, and
I'm excited for fantasy. That's going to be fun.
yeah.
And DJ, don't worry, we'll let you choose the side so that you can't complain this time.
Yeah, well, I think we should play the official fantasy this time, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think more on that. Let's do a little research and we'll talk a little bit about the official fantasy.
Maybe we should do a segment on which the best place to play fantasy is.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, so maybe in a few weeks we will come up with that. And obviously, do send us your questions. Do send us your comments. If we can make this better in any way, let us know. Subscribe to our podcast. We're on iTunes now. Just search for Edges and Sledges. Go to our blog. It's onetiponehand.com. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/onetiponehand. We're on YouTube. We've got our own channel there. So if you've missed this live, please do watch it there. Yeah. Any last thoughts, guys? And any final?
That's it. We'll be back here in a week, and by then we'll know what's going on in the Nidahas T20 Tri Series. So we'll wrap that up for you guys next week.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you. Good night.